Hello everyone, my name is Veteran Noob, because I've been a noob at this game for an incredibly long amount of time. Today I'd like to talk to you about wheelie tanks, but before we get into that, I'd like to apologize for the delay between my previous video and this one. I would also like to mention a few changes going forward. The first change is going to be on video length. I realized last video kind of dragged on and went on a little too long, so I'm going to try to make them closer to the 10-minute mark. The scheduling of my videos should be back on track though, hopefully coming out every Sunday, Monday-ish. And without further ado, let's get into the gameplay. So in this game it kind of starts off, how all wheelie games do, you kind of rush to the front. And the goal with wheelie tanks seems to be get to the front, do a little bit of spotting, and then run all the way to the back. You could be active, like I will be in this game, but generally speaking it's not a good idea, especially when you're bottom tier. The main strength of the wheelie tanks are their speed, and at tier 6 they actually don't have a lot of speed. Funny enough, when I was playing my tier 6s, however, I felt like I was doing better at dodging and avoiding shells. Maybe it's because of the player's skills, but at the tier 8 one I don't feel like I'm as good at getting away from other light tanks and medium tanks that are chasing or trying to shoot me down. One thing I will mention is that these tanks are very much not noob friendly. I mean, I was having a lot of trouble figuring out how to play them and do well in them and all that stuff. There's a lot of mechanics with these tanks and differences in these tanks they don't have with other tanks. For one, they do have absolutely no armor, so there's no forgiveness. If you make a mistake, you can be punished really, really hard. A second point is that their speed can be quite overwhelming for players who are not used to it, especially when you're on those closed maps like Himmelsdorf. On the bigger open maps, their speed and maneuverability is not really an issue because you have a lot of room to work with. But at the higher tiers, when you have the two modes, the speed mode and the control mode, and you need to switch between them in tight quarters places, it really can be overwhelming, and you get quite a few crashes and whatnot going on because of it. If you saw the games, or if you played these wheelie tanks yourself, you'll understand exactly what I mean. A third thing is that the guns on these wheelie tanks can be incredibly underwhelming. If you use the HE, their DPM goes up to more reasonable levels, but without it, you're really at a disadvantage compared to any other tank. Now, of course, HE does have a lot of disadvantages, being that it can't go through spaced armor, and that it bounces easily because of how low the penetration is. There's one of those crashes I was talking about earlier. Now, the HE pen on the wheelie tanks is quite good, so that's mitigating a bit. But it's not incredibly high. The tier 8 only has 90mm of pen with the HE, and that'll go through other light tanks, but if you go up against the front of mediums and heavies, you're not going through. This leads me into my next point, which is that you're going to need premium rounds in these tanks, and generally quite a few of them. This is because the alpha damage of the gun is not that great, and also because standard AP is generally just not worth it in these tanks. If you can go through with standard AP, you're generally either behind or on the side of these tanks, and then HE is generally the right choice, as you'll go through with that on most tanks you're going up against. And when HE can't go through, usually the AP is going to have trouble, and you're going to need to use the premium rounds. And then even then, premium rounds are not incredible on these tanks. They're definitely not bad though. You're going to see like the Oni, the angles are just too difficult with the thickness of his armor the way he is, and I'm just not going to be able to go through even with those premium rounds. I'm going to mention that probably the most brutal part of these light tanks is the lack of a decent spotting radius. Now, it's not a big deal against low camo rating tanks or tanks that are moving around right in front of you. Because of how fast you can go, you can spot heavy tanks out moving through the open, and you can spot medium tanks running through the open. But if you're looking for a concealed tank destroyer or a artillery, you will not find it with this tank's view range. It's just too little. They can hide up until the last second, and you won't see them through the bush. Even the top tier will hardly get over 445, and there the GW Panther is invisible until basically the last second. Yeah, interestingly, even with the poor view range, you can still get a lot of spotting damage and do quite well as a support role. In this game, I actually got a master badge, mostly with close to 3,000 support damage I will have done by the end of it. In conclusion, though, this is not a tank I would recommend for noobs or beginners to the game. It has a lot of aspects to it that are difficult to master and figure out, and if you're just looking for a tank line to go up and that's going to be easy, this is not the one. With that being said, this tank line is definitely a lot of fun, and it's different, so if you don't care about how difficult it is and are just looking for something fun, go for it. You know, you do you and enjoy. That'll bring us to the end of this video. There's going to be a quick clip that rolls here. It's actually a lot of fun. I'm going to go tumbling onto the top of one of these bunkers. I get hit with physics in action, you know, wargaming, working realistically. Hope you enjoyed, and bye!